All right, guys, if you're out in the foyer, you want to make your way in, we're going to get started. I got myself some hot chocolate. That's working good for me. Sometimes I need it because I want to drink it. Sometimes I need it because it's doing good things to my hands. And right now I have it going in both directions, so I like that. All right, so how many of you watch American Idol or used to? Anybody? Come on, you're not going to get in trouble. All right. So I used to watch it way back when Randy Jackson was the guy that was one of the guys that was doing it. What I want to tell you is a story about how and why Simon Cowell made so much money out of American Idol. So it's a hypothetical story. Two kids grow up right next to each other, and they decide that they're gonna try out for Idol, right? And it's gonna be there in their town in 18 months, and so they can't wait. And so what they decide is they want to become singers. They love the idea of being, fantastic vocalists. And it turns out there's a vocal coach 2 blocks away from their home. And so they go down there and make appointments with the vocal coach Tuesday afternoon, one at 2:30, one at 3:30, and it's always the same time of the week. Same day of the week. And for 18 months, they're going down there to see her. And they're getting better, and they're getting better, and they're advancing, and they're getting stronger, and they can't wait. Finally, Idol comes to town, and they stand in those long, goofy lines to get that stupid piece of paper, right? And so now they're ready to go into the hall, and they're sitting in there waiting longer. Finally, it's one of the guys' opportunity to go in and sing. He gets up, his other buddy high-fives him, and he goes inside. And Randy says, hey, what are you going to sing for us? And so he said, I'm going to sing this song, and he starts singing. And Simon and Randy are just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, right? This is so fantastic. This guy is an amazing vocalist. So they stop him and just try to throw him off. Like, I tell you what, I want you to sing this song. Can you sing this song? And he happens to know it. And he's singing that song too. And they're just so in love with it. And Randy says, dog, you are awesome, bro. Come here, get your ticket. And we're going to see you in Hollywood. And he leaves with a golden ticket in his hand, and he's so excited because now he knows he's on his way, right? This is such affirmation. It's the fulfillment of dreams. He spent 18 months getting ready for this. This is his greatest desire. And he walks out with the ticket behind his back because everybody does that, right? I really didn't get it, but kind of I did, ha, ha, ha. And we all wait on bated breath because we want to watch, right? This happens. And the guy comes out and he goes, ta-da! He shows his ticket, and his buddy loses his mind in that second. He loses his mind. He goes absolutely nuts. He's wild. He's jumping up and down. He's high-fiving him. He's telling him, fantastic, good job, congratulations. And he's happier than he should be. Why is he happier than he should be in that moment? What is he anticipating? Because he's next, right? He's next. What is he anticipating? He's anticipating he's going to get the same thing, right? They both went to the same vocal coach 1 hour after each other for the same length of time, did the same work. That guy just came out with a ticket. I can do the math. I know how this works. So he goes in and he's even more confident than he should have been. And he can't wait to sing, and he's kind of strutting his stuff like a caged tiger ready to go again, and so Randy says, dude, I can see you're up. I'm so happy. What are you going to sing for us today? And the guy tells him the song. He's like, all right, we're ready to roll, baby. Let's go. And he starts singing, and Randy's like, oh, God, this is bad. He's trying not to laugh out aloud. Right? And this is what we pay money for. This is why we watch the program, because right in this moment, rational people become idiots. And we laugh because it's just can you not tell that you sound like a stuck record? This is so bad. And Randy says to him, what do you do for your day job? Bro, don't give that up. Man, don't. I'm just saying, go back to tennis coaching. Singing is not for you. And he cuts him off. And then there's all the irrational behavior, just let me sing another song. Let me sing another song. I'll get my vocal coach. Don't make me. She's right outside. I'll go get her. She'll tell you that I'm great. And time after time, he has to talk him off the ledge, tell him, no, this is not you. No, this is not you. No, this is not you. And finally it starts to dawn on him, maybe these people are serious. And then it starts to settle in on him. Oh my gosh, I did not get the ticket. And now he's got to walk out, right? And so he's got that slow, somber walk, the one that only the ones who don't get tickets have. And his buddy's thinking, no, you're just playing with me, right? Show me the ticket. I know you got it back. Where's your ticket? I know, where's your ticket? I see you. And it's making it worse. And he's like, just get off me, man. I don't want that. And so then he leaves because he's mad, right? He leaves, and his buddy's like, wait, don't go. Like, what's happening? I got to stay. I got to do the, and he leaves. He walks out of the auditorium, out of the back of the hall, out back into the sunshine outside. Walks out of the door, sticks his finger in God's face and says, you and me, we're done. That's it, man. That's not cool. You give it to him, but you won't give it to me. And we both did exactly the same thing. I'm out, man. That's it. I'm done. And right in that moment, he makes an inner vow about God's intention toward him because he feels like he earned it, right? And whose fault is it that he has this frame of mind? Whose fault is it? It's grandma's fault. It is, because she said to him, growing up his whole life, son, you can become anything you want to become. Right? And she kind of said it like that too, just like that. Right? And here's what the problem is. He decided, I want to become a singer. And it turns out he happened to have talent, existing talent, at a 90 words a minute level. His buddy said, I want to become a singer. He had existing talent at 350 words a minute level. They both went through the same training. One of them got world-class result. The other one got a small improvement, but not world-class. One gets a ticket, the other one doesn't. And God is up in heaven going, bro, you're about to go and invent Uber. Like, I got a whole other thing for you right now. Like, don't get hung up on the thing. Like, there's another way, right? And so this is where the problem is for you and I and for our kids and the people that we interact with every day is grandma means well, and what she's trying to do is put fuel behind your motivation and drive you toward trying something and not having no confidence. Like, have confidence, move and try stuff. But what we end up misinterpreting is we think we can just pick anything, and if we just try hard enough, we're going to excel. And it turns out that's not actually true. And if you put too much stock in that thing, you can get so mad at what you think is God holding back on you that you put blame on him, and it's got nothing to do with him. And he's thinking about all the great places you're going to succeed in other places. But now you're so mad at him, you won't even get off the couch. And so your whole future is locked up. And it's not God's fault. So there's a problem with not understanding your strengths. It's not okay. And then there's another side to our strengths that I want to illustrate to you. And that's really where I want to spend the rest of our time tonight. Because I want to send you home with an opportunity to have a really important dialogue with your spouse. For every strength that exists, there is also a counterfeit. It's not an opposite, it's a counterfeit. And it exists because the devil is trying to be a counterfeit of God. Once he got kicked out of heaven, he said, I will 5 times. I will do that. I will be like God. I will do this, right? He wants to be just like God, but he can't be. And so all he can do is copy what God does and try to counterfeit it to try to create an alternate universe. There is only one creator. Everybody else can only recreate. Because there's only one who has the initiation. The rest are only just working with what's already been given. He is the master counterfeiter. All he can do is watch God's power in play and try to mimic it in some way. But see, the problem with the counterfeit is it's not an opposite. It's not. If I hand you a red $10 bill, are you going to get tricked by that? No, why? Because it's red. That's monopoly money. Nobody does anything with that. You put that in the box, it's goofy, right? We understand that already. I can see it a mile away. If I hand you a counterfeit, should you know? Not if it's good. No, for a counterfeit to be a really good counterfeit, it's got to look just like the real thing, right? So I got a trick question for you. I'm warning you ahead of time. What's the difference between a duplicate and a counterfeit? What's the difference? Well, on the surface of them, there should be none, right? They should look exactly the same. If you're a good counterfeiter, they should look exactly the same. They should feel exactly the same. They should even smell similar. So what's the difference then between a counterfeit and a duplicate? Exactly. One is an original, meaning there's intent here. When the existing $10 bill has a commitment behind it that says, against this piece of paper is an equal and stashed away amount of gold that validates this piece of paper as a currency that we're going to trade with, because it's a lot easier to carry the paper around than it is chunks of gold. It's called the gold standard. And when I trade you with this money, we all are operating off of the sincere intention and knowledge that it's backed by this much gold to validate that. And the intent is good. The intent is wholesome. A counterfeit has none of that. It also has none of that intent. The intent, in fact, is deceit. The intent of a counterfeit bill is deceit. I want to trick you into thinking there's some value here. Meanwhile, there's nothing there. It's not even worth the paper it's printed on. There is no backing, there's no gold, it's empty. It has a form of godliness, but it has no power. It looks like the real thing, but in the end, its end is destruction. It's manufactured by the devil to look like something that is a part of who you are, but in reality is not, and its end is destruction for you. And the devil wants to hand you counterfeits of your strengths, and he's been doing it since you were born to trick you into believing that that's who you are, not who you really are. And so every strength has a counterfeit. It's really annoying. So to really deepen the point here, I want to just lean into a little bit of psychology that began to emerge in the mid-60s in the previous century. And it centers around this idea that was phrased in that window of time, and it's called a fundamental attribution error. The diagnosis is called a fundamental attribution error. And here's essentially what happens. Let's say that Chad and I work together, and we're buddies, and then I know Steph will love me, so I'll use her as the other person. And then Steph is like the third person that's working in our lives, right? So Chad and I are buddies, and we're hanging out, and I go over to him one day, and I say to him, Chad, have you ever noticed, I'm just saying, okay? Have you ever worked with Steph? You have? Yeah. Do you find, I'm just saying, do you find, sometimes it's, she's a little bit difficult to work with? She's so fussy, it has to be her way. You can never get it your way. He goes, yeah, I've noticed that. Okay. So, when I'm speaking, it's just conjecture, right? Just point of view, it's my perspective. It's one isolated idea. As soon as he says, yeah, and have you noticed how stubborn she is? Yeah, I got that too. There's no black and white with this woman. Everything's got to be her way. I know, she's so pig-headed. Okay, whoa. Now, there's more than conjecture. Now I got confirmation. I'm not crazy now because there's another person who agrees with me. Anybody else come along, we could get 3 or 4. Now we all have the same perspective. I'm not selling them on the idea. We're confirming that we can really see this on her. All right, it's official now. We've gone from conjecture to validated fact that this is truth. Validated fact, this is really going on with her. So we create a label, and it says, stubborn, pig-headed, always got to have her way, no black and white, won't negotiate. And we go and put it on her back. Now, she's doing life every day with this label on her back, and everybody's treating her that way. And year 1 goes by, and it's fine. And year 2 goes by, and it's not so great. And year 4 goes by, and it's really wearing her out. And when you're 50, and you've heard that your whole life from your parents and your brothers and your friends and your teachers, you eventually go, I am stubborn. I am. Everybody tells me that that's true. Okay, that is what science calls a fundamental attribution error. Because what we are doing is attributing to her at a fundamental level something that's actually erroneous. It's incorrect. It's an error. Because what I'm saying is that she is stubborn. Meanwhile, that's actually not what's going on. I can point to behavior that looks stubborn. So I feel like I've got facts. But folks, what I'm about to describe to you is that facts and truth are not the same. I've got facts that say that she's stubborn. But if you get her up here and ask her to talk about the truth of what's going on in her heart, she'll tell you that she's not stubborn. But she has the strength of belief. And folks who have belief are incredibly resilient and purposeful and will not budge from the things that they know are fundamentally correct in their lives. And if you go to them and say, why are you holding this line right here? They'll say, because if I give up this line, then we end up here, and if that becomes the case, then this is the consequence, and from that consequence, this outcome, this is intolerable for me. And if I think on your behalf, it's intolerable for you too. And for that reason, I'm coming back here to keep this from ever happening in your life and mine. I'm on your side. That is the truth. But when I watch that behavior on the outside and I don't understand that that's the truth, I label it as stubborn, pig-headed, won't negotiate, always got to have her way, no black and white. So here's the thing. How many of you have ever felt that way? Have ever been labeled that way? Yeah. What you are admitting to is that you have been a candidate for the devil's punching bag. What he's trying to feed you is lies that look like the real thing, that have been told to you by reliable people whose opinions you trust, and yet in truth, that's actually not what's going on in your heart. And so there is one antidote for all of the counterfeits that exist. There are 34 strengths, there are 34 counterfeits. And the antidote is simply this. Thank you, Brene Brown. I always feel weird when I do that. It's transparency. If I could get Steph up here, and she'll be here tomorrow to tell you that this is not true, she'll tell you about her belief. She'll tell you about her belief strength and what's going on in her heart and what she's fighting for and what she believes in and why that line has to be held for her, her friends, her family, and God forbid, even for all of humanity. And the rest of us are better because that kind of perseverance is in our lives. Here's why this is a problem for you and I in our everyday lives as husbands and wives. Because the counterfeit shows up before the real thing does. Just the way your shadow divulges where you are. When I was 11, playing cops and robbers with my youngest brother, Rogan, he was the youngest of the three of us. There were three of us. Garth and I were 18 months apart, and so we were ahead of him by 6 years. And so, we're older teens, and he wants to play, and the house would end like this, right? This is the end of the house. And I'd hide on this side, and he would come walking up this little corridor and try to hide on this side of the house. Problem is the sun was setting back there. And so I could see his shadow extending beyond where he is over the space where I'm standing, and I could see his shadow over here. And so I'm standing by the wall like this because I know he's around the corner because I can see his shadow lying right there. I load my potato gun. And I shoot him. And he comes out, oh, come on! How do you always know where I am? And I didn't have the heart to tell him, bro, your shadow. I know, because I like being able to win. It's the older brother thing. I don't know. But that's what happens with our counterfeits. It's the shadow of the real thing. If you look at the list in your bag, you've got a list of counterfeits. If you look at that list, you're going to find stuff that people have said over you all your life. And what I'm here to tell you tonight is it's not true. It's not true. It may be factual that it's been found in your life, but that is not the truth about who you are. The truth about who you are is on the other side of the paper. Find that strength, turn it over, and find out what the real strength is for you. And even that, that short description that's on that one sheet of paper, I'm cheating. Like, I'm writing just a handful of words just to get you in the ballpark, but there's so much more to who you are, and you need to discover it. You need to understand it. And sometimes one of the best ways to see yourself is through the eyes of somebody else, and there's nobody better than the person that God has put next to you to feed back to you who you are. Have you ever noticed you can't see yourself? You notice that? Like, I can see a fair amount of me. I can see pieces of me. But if I want to see the whole thing, if I want to see the whole thing in one shot, what do I have to have? Yeah, I got to have a full-length mirror or a video camera or my grandpa or something. But something outside of me has got to feed back to me who I am in completion. So what does that mean? Well, what it means is God has set it up so that you and I cannot see ourselves by ourselves. We have to have something or someone else outside of us feed back to us who we really are. I don't know why he made it that way, but it is that way. And the best person who knows you the best is your spouse. And they and you have been exchanging blows, reinforcing counterfeits in each other's lives, not knowing that that's what you're doing, using language that the devil's handed you and I to beat each other up with. And yet, the Bible says to us that we should take every word captive and submit it under the authority of Christ. And so if we were to do that, if we were to be more careful, if we were to even just change the language of our lives and substitute out all of the counterfeit language and put in all of the replacing strengths language, I guarantee you the temperature in your marriage goes up 20 degrees. Just like that, just that one thing. Because what you're doing is you're speaking to the truth of who that individual is, not the lie about who that individual is. You're not reinforcing the counterfeit, you're reinforcing God's design. And so I hope that tonight, as you guys head home, what I'm hoping is that you'll do some work with each other. You know, maybe even just in the car on the way home. I want you let the passenger be the one who's kind of reading off some of the strengths or some of the counterfeits and going, I really think this is a counterfeit in my life. And then I want you to have a little bit of dialogue and let the person, like in Steph's case with belief, let her just say a little bit about what it has felt like to be called stubborn and pig-headed and there's no gray with her and there's no black and white. What has it been like to have to be labeled that way your whole life? By your parents and your sister and your pastor and your boss and like all these people whose voices you ought to be able to trust. And then just listen. Like listen for the pain. Because there's pain there. And you've been doing it to them and they've been doing it to you. And here's the thing. I'm going to go ahead and apologize on behalf of all of us. Because we don't know we're doing it. We don't know we're doing it. So there's no malice. There's no intent there. Right? But there's confusion, there's misunderstanding. Hosea 4:6 says that my people are destroyed because of a lack of understanding. And so my job here today is really help us understand what God's saying. And it starts by really getting clear on who you are by God's statement, not by the devil's statement, not by the counterfeits. Label yourself under God's design as a masterpiece with all this upside, all this possibility, all this potential, not with the broken words that the devil's created to try to tear you and I up. So listen for each other and how maybe some of that's going on. And I think you'll find also that this language really begins to give you words to describe where your pain has been. And just let the conversation flow as it does. If you had time, what I would advocate for is that each of you take one strength, talk about its counterfeits, and then how the devil's used that for pain in your life. And then let the other person do one of theirs. And then you go back and do number 2. You do yours, and then they do theirs. You come back and do number 3, if you had time. But there's no rush. Right? You guys are in the process of building and strengthening your marriages, just like Steph and I are. And so there's no rush. We're going to do this until we die. We're going to be polishing and sharpening and strengthening who we are and how we interact until we can't breathe anymore. And so there's no rush. And if there's a moment happening in the car that day and you want to even pull over and finish the conversation, or you just get stuck on one idea and that's as far as you get, that's progress, man. That's more clarity and more truth than you've had in your interaction with each other than has been present for I don't know how long prior to that point. And here's what makes me mad about this. And this is why I like ending with this on an evening like tonight. What makes me mad about it is that we're doing this to each other and we don't even know. We don't even know. And so I'm excited about being able to be in the room with you today. I'm excited about being able to shine a light on this space because it's our language and we use it every day, right? So I want to encourage you, work through that, somehow while you're going home in the car or something like that. And then tomorrow, when we get back together again, we got 3 sessions. Yep, you're stuck with those 3 sessions, I promise you. I'm going to wear you out. So we're going to do some information a little bit because this session is really kind of arranged around what are the pain points that are in our lives and how do we move away from that? And the reason I told you the American Idol story is because the pain point there is I blame God for something he had nothing to do with. I got to start moving away from that. So if there's some place in your history, in your life, in your marriage, where you blaming God for something that he wasn't responsible for that. He was there for it because he's always with us, but he wasn't responsible for that. And that's a pain point we got to move away from. And the second one is, let's not reinforce the devil's language on each other. Let's be talent scouts. Let's call the best out of each other. Let's be the best partner we can for each other. Let's move away from that counterfeit pain, that counterfeit language. So tomorrow morning, we'll keep moving in that same direction. What else do we need to move away from that helps strengthen our marriage? And we'll deal with a couple of those. And then I got three victim couples, candidate couples that are going to be up here with us. And we're going to chop up their marriages in some fun pieces. And then, everybody's looking forward to that. Woo, sign me up. And then last session, we'll turn our attention to, all right, so what are we moving toward? What's the fun we're going to move toward? What opportunities are out there that we haven't even tried yet? What new things could we investigate that could be a blessing to each other? And what I'm going to tell you tomorrow, and you aren't even ready for this, but what I'm going to tell you tomorrow is how StrengthsFinder influences very strongly what happens between the sheets. That's right. I'm going to leave that right there. And we want to come back tomorrow and get real into the middle of all of that too. So, okay. All right, can I pray for you? Matt, where are you?
I'm right here.
Okay.
Stealthy, man. I'm stealthy.